Good day, good evening. Welcome to the Yoga Healer podcast with guest host. We're just co-hosting here. This is Justin Frank Polgar of Yes Cacao, also known as the Minister of Chocolate when it serves. And our guest, but actually host, but guest, but host, is Kate Stillman, who you're very familiar with, rocking it, rolling it in the yurt with her smile. And we were actually just talking about how magical, potent, and palpable sound is when it's in its journey to becoming reality. That's what happens when you eat chocolate in the morning and drink a little tea and start talking with Kate. We just go deep, quick.
Quick.
I appreciate that. So
And
welcome.
Thank you. And it brings up that first thing that we had talked about with that I was in this podcast last week and as a guest, and someone asked me the question of so what's your guilty pleasure? And I was like, those words don't really resonate with me. Like pleasure isn't guilty for me.
Yeah, embody that pleasure. Where does it say that we're not supposed to experience pleasure, or we're only supposed to experience it in certain ways? I'm not sure where that manual is, but I haven't picked it up in a long time.
Right. And those kind of limitations around it. And we wanted to bring this in for Mother's Day and for people honoring mothers and Mother's Day. In the sense that for women, because it was this women's show and it was all about women and this sense that women have these guilty pleasures, right? And it's this total disconnect from the feminine. Right? Which is led by sensual desire. We get more of that than men biologically, right? We have more receptors.
Lucky. And, it's a big responsibility. It is. With great power comes great responsibility. Yeah. Guilty pleasures. I almost think that sometimes we learn that from our mothers. I'm just going off the cuff here, and just being that the nurturing nature of a mother is to protect her cubs, but also to prepare them for the world that is alive and happening. And so maybe there's that concept of guilty pleasures coming in, that find your boundary with your pleasure as you evolve. Because it's good to have some boundaries. I think just putting the judgment of guilty on that is unnecessary. Have a pleasure, step over the line, experience the consequences. If it's sugar or I don't know, what kind of guilty pleasures are we talking about here?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I think when the initial, when the question was asked me, I was like, oh, they want me to talk about eating chocolate and drinking coffee and wine and you know what I mean? The things that in yoga are a little spicy.
Taboo.
Right, taboo. And I'm if you're the beauty of drugs, right? So chocolate's a drug, coffee's a drug, LSD's a drug. Or there's all these drugs. And what is a drug? Really, it's something with a massive amount of phytochemicals. So phyto means plant, and chemical means that that plant has a lot of different triggers that trigger your own physiology and create a shift in consciousness, right? Maybe expands you, maybe uplifts you. It's it's going to push the prana in a different constellation than it is right now, unless your pranic field is really super electrified already.
And a lot of that has to do with set and setting and with intention. Are we using this plant medicine? Are we using this drug to expand, to engage our environment, to really get into what we're doing, or as an escape? And then that actually changes the function quite drastically. If we're using it to close off versus using it to very much engage and open our sensations, so that we can be in that aliveness that the phytochemicals are inviting us. It's here's the invitation. Do you accept this invitation? Red pill, blue pill. Kate?
Yeah, and that's beautiful, because that really points to, too, it's where the guilt comes in then is when we haven't set up the container for the experience, right? So instead it's I can't handle it, So I'm going to reach for something because I can't handle whatever it is. My schedule, my children, my life, my emotions,
Change
right?
of seasons, people passing, people being born. I mean, hello, life and all of your cards, the whole deck of cards.
So maybe this is really about deep pleasure in setting the stage, creating the container for yourself to really experience, like thanking the self, like thanking yourself for whatever you are. Say if you're a mother, like honoring yourself, or say you're father, or you're or a man, that's like honoring the mothering within, like honoring that sense that you can heal and nurture yourself.
Mm. Yeah, that's I invite us all. I think as Mother's Day is coming, let's invite the piece of us, the part of us that is the mother, is the nurturer, is the one who knows self-care in the ideal mothering role, the one that knows self-care, to step up and have a day where we, sit on our mothering throne, male or female. That, the mother archetype is alive in all things, because at least one pretty thick layer of where we're living is duality, and that's a masculine, feminine. Yeah, so I'm gonna honor my mothering nature, probably with chocolate, and maybe even just with soaking in the sun. The sun being masculine in the sky, right?
Yep.
Just soaking that in, being penetrated by the sun. That's a great way to enjoy the feminine and enjoy the mothering. It's being nourished and nourishing in the same vibration. That's good.
And what about for your mother? Like, how will you want to honor your birth mother?
My birth mother. What an amazing woman. Um, my birth mother, Wilma, and we call her Will Mama because it just works nicely. Um, she's been on a little bit of a cloud nine recently because my brother got married last weekend, and it's her first you know that type of milestone for her. And so she's been really getting a lot of honoring, and sometimes she's a little nervous to be in the spotlight. She gets a little bit shy, and I like spotlights, so I'm like sending her lots of love. Obviously, card moms love cards in the mail. I don't know how that works, but they love cards in the mail. Um, Definitely there'll be a phone call. There'll be some praise. I like to say I'm praisey about you. Being in that praising state of just finding where it is that we're grateful for another, be it your mother or your partner or your son, daughter, uncle, friend, whatever. Being in that praise state really opens the stage for being vulnerable and allowing what naturally needs to come through, and that natural love and expression to just have a channel. And I'm sure my mom, in being her nurturing self, probably one of the most nurturing people I've ever met. I'm a little biased, I suppose. She has things that she wants to motheringly share with me. So me being an open vessel on Mother's Day, not like closing my ears or like, oh, well, this is my life. I need to do it this way. Just being really an open, tell me, how do you feel about this? What's going on? It's probably the best way to honor my mom. If you guys want to honor Will Mama too, please feel free to send her an etheric kiss in the air or something. What about you, Kate?
I'm so there with you with the praising, like when, and this is the thing with praise. And you and I talked a little bit about this before we started recording, about how like Matrika matters, like how the sound vibration that we're selecting, how that matters, right? So when we're saying something from our heart, and it's vulnerable because it's so true, right? So in the Shiva Sutras, it's like they break down the different levels of speech vibration. So something that's like paravak, it's like it's so true that you kind of disappear, like it sort of absorbs you, and it feels like a lot of vibration moving through you. So the person's actually receiving what you're saying from like the level of divine, right? Of like just pure truth. And to be in that so that the person can really hear, vibrationally that praise. And it's so hard to do this. Like a lot of us, like with praise, we like put up this like shield, like you just talked a little bit about, of like I'm not going to receive. But when we actually speak from that space and are open enough to receive it back, it changes ourselves vibrationally. It up levels us, right, into a higher, basically like a higher energetic constellation.
Oh, well said.
So I think that's like the work, for all of us on Mother's Day. Like that's the play or the work or however you want to call it. It's like the invitation, right? That we can really speak to, to the essence of mother. It's so funny to me when like people bitch and moan about their mothers. I'm like, do you realize you would not be here? Like someone in some capacity at least carried you in their womb so that you borrowed their body, like you sucked their calcium,
probably gave back some adrenal energy, but still there was an imbalance. And,
yeah.
how do you ever really pay back a mom for what she does?
Right.
There's no owing, it's also her gift in that way.
Yeah.
The bitching about moms is the about moms is different, but I think when you can have that real clear channel where you're like, this is what's going on in my life, and if you need to like be really authentic and mantrically speak your truth, that might step on a mom's toe, but it's actually probably really strengthening for her at the same time. I would imagine that most mothers would like their children to lift up into very confident and truthful, honest, and strong, authentic humans. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what most moms want for their kids. Sometimes that backfires a little bit. A little bit.
So I love the idea too for the moms out there to like actually receive, to just really step into that pleasure. If we go back into like the beginning part of the conversation about like setting up a container to experience pleasure, right? Whether that's through eating chocolate cake or whether that's through if someone is thanking you, to just really like get like grounded and create a container and then open and receive, because that'll shift us vibrationally as well. We start to learn how to actually receive back, because now the flow between giving and because moms are so good at giving and they suck at receiving, right? So then to like be like,
second that,
right? So like, I'm gonna practice really receiving and filling back up, and all these pleasure chemicals are gonna start to happen. And there's no guilt with it. It's like, it's not like you're a better person for being pious and not receiving. It's like, no, like really take it all back in and let it shift you, let it change your biochemistry. So hard.
There's a being fed by that. I've actually been very live in this conversation of receiving for the last, 15, 20 days or so, since I launched the Kickstarter for Yes Cacao.
Oh yeah.
That triggers so much. I mean, for me, all of my stuff I have around receiving and being worthy to receive people's attention and belief. That's basically when someone is backing you, they're saying, I believe in you and what you're doing. Yeah. I want to see that happen. I want to help participate in your dream manifesting. And it was great. It is still great to feel all this, all that receiving energy and what that triggers in me, and how I sometimes need to go for a walk and take it all in this way of like, no, Justin, this is what evolution feels like. You're inviting a transition in your life to up-level life. People are saying yes to you, and now you get to say yes in a bigger container. And so, yeah, I'm totally. I really suggest really take on a receiving role, if not for a day. Like launch Kickstarter and see what that feels like. It's so good, that kind of feeling your community support. Get a foot massage too. I think that's good as a mother. Get a foot massage.
Yeah. Absolutely, hand, foot, head, any extremity. Awesome. This has been great. So I also want to mention your Kickstarter. So if people do want to support Yes Cacao, you've got this really cool thing going on. Would you just tell people where to go for that? And we'll put a link
Sure.
and
Yeah. Just there'll probably be a link below. The easiest way is just to go to Kickstarter.com and search Yes Cacao, which is YesCacao.
yes.
You can also just type in "Feel the Yes," and that will take you to a beautiful little yellow square, and put together a video like with my iPhone, which I'm pretty proud of that. Actually, it was a long process of just narrowing down the message, and it's really just we're changing people's relationship to chocolate, repurposing chocolate, and in the previous interview podcast that we did, we went a little deeper into what that means as far as using chocolate as a delivery system for herbs and wellness. But yeah, please come. We have awesome prizes, including like a liquid chocolate bath. That one. There's a tour and like spend a day in the chocolate factory making chocolate. Lots of different levels of chocolate, actual bars, and I think the top prize. I know the top prize is actually a 1982 911 Porsche filled with chocolate.
Wow.
Just for fun.
Why not? I love it.
It's like, where's Willy Wonka these days?
Right.
I don't know. Where's Willy Wonka? Let's revive the magic of these drugs slash, chocolate. Chocolate is a drug, actually. It is. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, consciousness shifters. All right,
And
Justin.
bye.
Love. Happy Mother's Day.
Yes, indeed. Happy Mother's Day to
back
you.
to you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Awesome. Take care.